Hello and welcome to episode 254 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, as always, joined by Evan Silva. We are here today to review the AFC Week 3. Evan, how's it going?
It's going well. Let's get into it.
On today's show, and each Tuesday this season, we will go team by team through each squad in the NFL, all 32, talking about fantasy perspectives and fallout. Before we get into it, two things. First, get into our Discord. If you are a subscriber, our Discord is available to you. A lot of good discussion in there from a lot of sharp people, including people from our team and the props package. You need to be in there if you expect to get the lines that we are betting. Second, this show is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks.com. You guys know me. You know I love player props. PrizePicks is essentially a DFS platform that specializes in player props. If you're in California, Texas, New York, I understand you can't bet props on books. You can bet them on PrizePicks. If you want to give them a try this week, 100% instant deposit bonus up to $100 if you use promo code ETR or use the link in the show notes. Again, promo code ETR at PrizePicks.com for the best deal. Let's get into it here with the AFC. And, Tyson Williams, I was excited about to start the season. It appears Baltimore was not as excited about Tyson Williams because Latavius played 19 snaps. Devontae Freeman played 9 snaps. Tyson only played 29 snaps, only 33% of the running back carries, and only 3% of the running back targets. So it's like they don't view Tyson as a workhorse at all. And we had the under on his carries in that game that hit by a wide margin. Also in this game, obviously, Marquise Fake Hollywood Brown had the worst drops you can see, the worst drops you can find. And Lamar would have had a huge game if Marquise didn't drop those. Thought Lamar played better than his box score appeared in this game. What'd you see out of Tyson, out of Lamar and the Ravens?
Yeah, we're just going to have to embrace that the Ravens are not going to commit to an individual back until they do, and they may not because they don't have a good individual back. I think that Tyson Williams, has athleticism on his side. He's looked explosive at times, but they just simply do not want to entrust full workloads to him. And they're willing to play guys that stink in Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman in order to do that. So, but Lamar Jackson has been incredible despite, a lot of things going wrong around him. They lost the first round rookie Rashad Bateman early on. These 3 drop touchdown passes by Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews' slow start, although he really picked it up in this last game. I think he's going to be absolutely fine going forward. The offensive line injuries. Lamar Jackson is the number 4 quarterback in fantasy. Dude is just an all-out baller. You can rely on him even when things are going wrong to situations around him.
I should know Rashad Bateman. It sounds like he's got a chance to be back relatively soon. And I think if you're in a deep league, adding Rashad Bateman is not the worst idea right now. Buffalo Bills. Evan predicted a breakout game for Josh Allen on the Friday night show. That is exactly what happened. Josh Allen went absolutely nuclear on a Washington football team defense that, as we talked about on the previous spot, has been very, very disappointing. One thing I noticed, Zach Moss went from a healthy scratch in week 1 to outsnapping Devin Singletary 44-34 on Sunday and getting a bunch of work around the goal line. It's just, I don't know. It seems kind of random how they're doing their running backs. I don't pretty much ever feel good about playing or starting Buffalo running backs, but just want to note that on Zach Moss. Anything you saw out of Buffalo's breezy win over the football team?
Yeah, just wanted to note that it was a tough week for the haters and losers, the anti-Josh Allen crowd. And it's going to be a really, really tough stretch coming up for the haters and losers as well, because they're facing the Texans next. After that, they face the Chiefs shootout, the Titans' terrible defense, the Dolphins, who Josh Allen has long had their number, the Jets' terrible defense, and then the Colts' terrible defense all in a row. It's going to be glorious.
Cincinnati Bengals. No T. Higgins in this game for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was out with the shoulder injury. And I get that they didn't really need it, but this Joe Burrow passing thing, man, 18 attempts in a 24-10 win over the Steelers. They're still in the bottom 5 in the league. Over pass rate, over expectation. They get the Jaguars Thursday. We're expecting another extreme run-heavy approach, another extreme Joe Mixon-type game plan against the Jaguars on Thursday. We'll see if T. Higgins can come back for this game or not. Didn't sound like his injury was too severe. What do you see out of the Bengals win over the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers, first of all, were just extremely depleted by the end of the week in their front seven. So the Bengals were extremely efficient. They've been extremely efficient in each of their 3 games from a passing standpoint, but they're 31st in the NFL in pass attempts, ahead of only the Saints. Joe Burrow is averaging 8.5 yards per pass attempt. He's got a 9% touchdown rate. At some point, they've got to lift this volume in the passing offense, and I think that it will come once they start to trust their pass protection, which may have happened. The tides may have turned a little bit, hopefully, in week 3, because they allowed 0 sacks. Now, Burrow only had 18 dropbacks, but their pass protection was good against Pittsburgh. And now they're facing on Thursday night a Jaguars team that has not rushed the passer well. So maybe we'll see. I mean, it's not something that you can count on, but I think at some point, with how efficient their passing game has been, they're going to have to lift the passing volume. Joe Mixon continues to log heavy volume and will continue to do so. But yeah, I mean, the Bengals, I think the arrow is pointing up, and they have a really nice schedule coming up too.
Yeah. The Jamar Chase stuff, I mean, he got so hyped up to where he was a 4th-round pick in best ball. But after all the stuff came out about the drops and everything, you get Jamar Chase in like the 7th round. And obviously, like, just close your eyes and bet on talent. That's going to pay off huge in the best ball streets for the 7th round Jamar Chase stuff.
And I mean, I had concerns that he was going to start slow. He has not started. So we never moved him in our rankings. I mean, he was number 22 among wide receivers in the top 150. Should have probably had him higher, but we were definitely way higher than consensus on Jamar Chase late in the draft season.
Yep. Odell Beckham returned as we moved to the Cleveland Browns. Odell Beckham returned in his first game since the ACL tear. And I thought he looked really good. Ran a route on 85% of Baker Mayfield's dropbacks, 9 targets for a 29% share, caught 5 balls for 77 yards. This was a game they played without Jarvis Landry, but still, I thought it was encouraging for Odell. And I believe the Browns play the Vikings next, which is going to be a game that could be major shootout. We've seen the Vikings inflate the plays of their opponents and run a ton of plays themselves. What do you see out of Odell's return? Anything else on the Browns?
Yeah, a promising return for Odell, 29% target share. And afterwards, he said he didn't feel anywhere near game shape. So theoretically, he should continue to get better. And Jarvis Landry is going to be out, multiple more weeks. I mean, he went on injured reserve, so he's going to miss at least 2 more games. But yeah, the Cleveland Vikings game looks like it could be a shootout.
Yep. By the way, when we talked in the preseason about having a Nick Chubb fade, like these were the kind of games that we were talking about where you can get away with a Nick Chubb fade because they win 26-6. They dominate. Nick Chubb carries the ball 22 times, and he finishes with 8 fantasy points because he didn't score a touchdown and didn't catch a pass. And that's just is what it is. Kareem Hunt was 10 for 81, scored the touchdown. Kareem Hunt was the one who caught 6 passes. Nick Chubb didn't catch any. Denver. Shout out Penn State, man. I'm sad for KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler's done for the year. Blew out his knee. He joins Jerry Jeudy on the sideline, and a deep wide receiver core is suddenly looking really thin. And, I'm here in Denver now, and everybody's all excited. They're 3-0. The teams they've played on their way to 3-0 are not great. Giants, Jaguars, Jets. It's about to get a lot tougher. Ravens, Steelers, Raiders, Browns coming up in their next 4 games. But yeah, I mean, it's still, Teddy's playing really well. I think the defense is legit good despite the quarterbacks that they've faced so far. What do you think about the passing game going forward without Hamler and Jeudy, and anything else on the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, they lost, 2 of their top 3 receivers like right out of the gate. But they have had enough depth that they can still run out Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton, and they've got Albert O has played a lot. But yeah, I mean their schedule stiffens considerably. It's nice that they got off to the 3-0 start, but and I think they're going to end up being like an under team. They're going to play a lot of ugly games when they start to play more competitive opponents.
Houston Texans, as usual, I don't have a lot to say about the Texans. Brandon Cooks, though, I mean, smashing already. 23 catches, 322 yards, and a touchdown in 3 games. The drop-off from Tyrod Taylor to Davis Mills was noticeable, but for Brandon Cooks, it didn't really matter. Anything on the Texans' Thursday night loss to the Panthers?
Yeah, Brandon Cooks is another guy that we were way higher on than consensus. Just I know it's tough to embrace when you look at the quarterback situations for as it pertains to a receiver, but he was just so clearly out in front of the other Texans pass catchers in terms of talent that he became a guy worth betting on. Davis Mills is just targeting the shit out of him. I mean, Davis Mills just looks at his first read and he's going to throw it. And what 60% of the time, that's going to be Brandon Cooks. I do think that there will be some down weeks forthcoming because that's what happens when you have a dysfunctional passing game. But you can, more often than not, I think you'll be able to bank on the volume. Brandon Cooks has had 3 good weeks in a row. He's a top 5 fantasy receiver so far.
The Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor continues to lose pass down reps to Nyheim Hines. And that's a problem because the Colts look like one of the worst teams in the entire NFL. This year, Nyheim Hines has ran 68 routes, has a 14% target share. JT, 45 routes, and a 10% target share. JT is just so talented. He's going to have big games at some point. I just always am hesitant to click him because I always know that Nyheim Hines is going to be in there taking those really valuable pass down work. Still, I want to stay optimistic on betting on talent with JT. By the way, Marlon Mack was a healthy scratch on Sunday. Adam Schefter reported today, Tuesday, that Marlon Mack is looking for a trade, or they're looking to trade Marlon Mack. 0-3 Colts. What do you have on them?
Yeah, Quentin Nelson suffers a high ankle sprain. They've already been dealing with injuries at both tackle positions. It's like their season is almost over. Carson Wentz is out there. I mean, I guess good on him, showing toughness and bravery, going out there playing on double sprained ankles, but he couldn't move. He had 0 rushing attempts for the first time in 19 games. So you're taking away one of his theoretical strengths and his mobility when he's out there playing, with double sprained ankles. I mean, and now his offensive line is falling apart. There's no positivity on the horizon in Indianapolis right now.
Yeah, and they play Dolphins, Ravens in their next 2 games. I'm also disappointed in Paris Campbell. I thought Paris Campbell was a pretty good best ball pick, and that looks like it's just going to blow up and be a total air ball for Paris Campbell.
He's playing on the outside. He's got 7 targets in 3 games. Carson Wentz throws to Zach Pascal way too much.
Jacksonville Jaguars. We've been hard on James Robinson and his potential usage, but his usage the last couple weeks has been really good. The last 2 weeks, James Robinson has outcarried Carlos Hyde 26-10. He's ran 42 routes versus 21 for Carlos Hyde. I mean, James Robinson has a 13% total target share. It's actually, his usage is pretty good for James Robinson heading into this game against the Bengals. We also had some questions. People want to know what to do with Laviska Shenault. I still want to bet on talent with Laviska Shenault, but it certainly has not been good so far. He looks like the 3rd or 4th option in the offense. What do you see out of the Jaguars, and anything for the people on Laviska?
I mean, he's a bench stash right now. Trevor Lawrence, 9 turnovers in 3 games. This is an offense to stream defenses against Cincinnati on Thursday night.
Kansas City Chiefs. I was shocked by the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing, man. I mean, maybe not shocked, but I thought there was some chance they would punish him for the week 2 fumble. But once he fumbled in week 3, I was like, they got to sit this kid down, man. I mean, they have to, and they didn't. They went right back to him, and that's really encouraging for CEH going forward. Despite all these fumbles, he's still got 68% of the running back touches in this game against the Chargers. Also, our old friend, Evan, I mean, if you were playing fantasy in 2013, Josh Gordon, and I know it sounds absurd because 2013 was so long ago, and I get it. With like the most dusty quarterbacks ever, Josh Gordon had one of the best fantasy wide receiver seasons ever. And since then, it's been a mess all field. And when he's been on the field, it hasn't been great either. Kansas City Chiefs did sign him, though. It has not been going well for Mecole Hardman, for Demarcus Robinson, for Byron Pringle. Any optimism for Josh Gordon? Would you add him, and anything else on the Chiefs?
I mean, anytime a guy is going to Kansas City to play with Patrick Mahomes, you'd be silly not to consider him. I don't know what Josh Gordon has left. The last time we saw him was with Seattle. I mean, he didn't look like he had a whole lot of juice left. But, I think he's worth grabbing if you have deep benches and putting him at the end of the bench and seeing if anything happens, just because he's going to play with Patrick Mahomes. He's got a shot to be out there. The other guys have not stepped up behind Tyreek Hill, and the Chiefs are searching. And we're always searching for opportunities to grab guys that could score fantasy points.
Las Vegas Raiders are 3-0, Evan. I mean, Josh Jacobs doesn't play in this game, and Peyton Barber goes 23, 111, One, I mean, it's amazing. They spent $11 million on Kenyon Drake for him to be a strict third down back, but that's not the point. I mean, they're 3-0. Derek Carr throwing the ball 40 times a game. Henry Ruggs finally saw an uptick in targets. He has 7 targets. It was on 43 pass attempts for Derek Carr. But yeah, what do you think about Henry Ruggs as an ad right now? And any optimism on the Raiders as a team? I know that we've been pretty hard on them, but credit to them. They're 3-0.
Yeah, they're 3-0. I mean, 2 of their wins came in overtime. The other one came against a terrible Steelers team.
Mm-hmm.
But their passing game is good. I mean, their passing game has been good, and Derek Carr has been making throws under pressure this year, which is and throwing the ball downfield, which is not something that has been on his historical resume. Does he start to revert to the player that he used to be? Or does he continue to throw the ball downfield and throw the ball well in chaos? I don't know. I can't answer that. We'll just have to see. But I mean, their passing offense has been excellent. They can rush the passer on defense with Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue, and so they have some chance to maintain a good team. With Henry Ruggs, I think it's still going to be pretty up and down, but in good matchups, he'll be an interesting play.
Yeah. I'm not confident that he's going to continue to see earn targets, right? I mean, he has a long history of not earning targets, and so it's definitely he'd be a thinner ad for me, but I think it's worth considering.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of dudes there that they can throw to, and that's going to contribute to the ups and downs. Darren Waller didn't have a great game in this last one. Hunter Renfrow has been collecting a lot of targets. Bryan Edwards has been killing in overtime. Kenyon Drake commands targets. So there's going to be inconsistency here. And Derek Carr is not going to continue to average 380 passing yards per game.
Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, I don't know what Brandon Staley was doing at the end of the game against the Chiefs, but I mean, he's been so impressive defensively and the way that they've structured things defensively. And then on the offensive side of the ball with Joe Lombardi, they've been extremely impressive. Second highest pass rate over expectation on the year, behind only the Bucs, and obviously getting Mike Williams to be just an absolute monster in the X spot we've talked about plenty. I think Brandon Staley at 8-1 to be coach of the year. I wish I had been on earlier. I could have gotten much better odds. I know Ryan Reynolds have been writing about that, but yeah, I mean, I think 8-1 on Brandon Staley is okay to be the coach of the year, because I think this Chargers team is legit good. They always had the talent on defense. They could just never put it together. Brandon Staley is putting it together for them. Really impressive win in Arrowhead for the Chargers. What do you see there?
Just another reminder that the running backs behind Austin Eckler are just complete non-factors right now. And that's good for Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler is balling. He's, kind of started slow. He's a top 5 fantasy running back now through 3 weeks. I thought Brandon Staley said something interesting after last week's game. He said that Mike Williams was the best player on the field. And we talked, I think it was Saturday or Friday or Sunday or Friday, about could Mike Williams overtake Keenan Allen as the clear number 1 for the Chargers? I mean, that's on the table right now. Mike Williams is having an excellent season. His usage is optimal. But I thought that was a really interesting comment by Brandon Staley. The best player on the field, Mike Williams. For sure.
Always had the talent, I think, Mike Williams. But yeah, finally putting it all together in his contract year. Miami Dolphins. And, maybe I'm biased because Mike Gesicki went to Penn State. Maybe I'm biased because I love the Spark Score stuff, and he is legit broke the model on the Spark Score. But I'm always looking for reasons to be high on Mike Gesicki. And he's back, baby. 44 routes on 62 Jacoby Brissett dropbacks. And you're getting a guy to play at your tight end spot who's actually a wide receiver. Mike Gesicki was in the slot 39 times. He was a wide out 12 times. He only lined up in line in this game 4 times. Saw 12 targets for a 24% share. Most tight ends don't have this kind of upside. And so I get that it's up and down with Mike Gesicki. They've been rotating him more than I like, but I still like taking chances on him. Anything out of the Miami Dolphins for you as they come off this loss to the Raiders?
No, I mean, you look at the box score, and Myles Gaskin had more touches than Malcolm Brown, but they were out there almost the same amount. So that continues to be. Salvin Ahmed was kind of pulled out of the rotation this past week, but it's still, a 2-man timeshare, and, bad offensive line. Jacoby Brissett is averaging 4.3 yards per pass attempt. Jalen Waddle had 13 targets and 58 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
They have no downfield passing offense. That's not going to help. That's not going to work well for Devontae Parker and Will Fuller.
Yep. James White has moved to the New England Patriots, and I think underrated, like a really big injury, because James White had a huge role with Mac Jones, and now they have to play Tampa, who forces everyone to pass. It's just not a good time for this James White hip injury, which sounds like it could be pretty severe. Damian Harris's pass protection is in such shambles, he couldn't even stay on the field. He got outsnapped 33-22 by Brandon Bolden. If you played preseason with us, you know the name J.J. Taylor. I don't want to swear to it, but I think J.J. Taylor will be the direct backup to James White, i.e. play that James White role. We will see, but if you're in desperate need of running back help and you're in full PPR, I think J.J. Taylor is least worth thinking about. What do you think about the James White injury, Evan? What should people do with Damian Harris and anything else on the Patriots?
Yeah, it sucks. He was a huge part of their offense. He really had sort of emerged as their lead back. And he, really was jiving with Mac Jones. And all of a sudden he goes out. Mac Jones has by far his worst game. Looked bad against the Saints. I don't know. I still think that Ramondre Stevenson is their most talented all around back. He's been on the bench because he lost a fumble in his first game, and it's going to be tough for him to get out of the doghouse. But, if he starts getting opportunities, I think that he could really eat into Damian Harris stuff. He can play in the passing game, but it's a mess right now. Brandon Bolden, because they trust him in pass protection, he could end up playing a lot of snaps going forward. I don't know if they trust these other guys in pass protection. There's still 4 candidates for backfield work in New England, and we don't really know.
Yeah, in the past, Brandon Bolden's been a strict special teamer. I don't know if they consider this an emergency situation. We'll see if they get Taylor and Ramondre active. Ramondre was awesome in the preseason. First team all preseason for sure. Jets, speaking of rookie quarterbacks struggling, another brutal game for Zach Wilson. In this one, he loses Elijah Moore to a concussion. Obviously, it was a very difficult spot for him at Denver, but still, it's been a really rough start for Zach Wilson. What have you seen out of him, and is the Corey Davis dream dead?
I just, I don't have any answers here. Doesn't seem like Mike LaFleur has any answers here. It's just you stream defenses against the Jets.
Yeah. I will say the last 2 games have been against the Patriots and the Broncos, 2 pass defenses I have a lot of respect for. They get the Titans and then the Falcons, 2 home games, Titans and Falcons. If Zach Wilson and this pass game can't do it against the Titans and Falcons at home, I'll have some major, major concerns.
Pick up the Titans defense.
Okay. Yeah, Pittsburgh. We've been talking about Big Ben being done for a while now. 1, 2, 3 years maybe? And now I feel like the national media is piling on, and they're like, oh, okay, now it's official. Big Ben is just cooked. He lost Deontay Johnson. He didn't have Deontay Johnson in this game due to a knee injury. Then he lost Juju Smith-Schuster to a rib issue, so it wasn't great. He targeted Chase Claypool and Najee Harris just an outrageous amount of times. But yeah, it's going to be really hard for Pittsburgh to generate ceiling games with Big Ben in this state. I don't know what they do, though. Their backups are a disaster also. I don't know what they do at the quarterback position, what you see out of the Steelers against the Bengals.
Yeah, they are not in a good spot organizationally right now. It's going like this right now.
Yeah.
And it's really, really rough. We were big on Chase Claypool as a tournament play this past week. 15 targets. God, if you would have told me before the game that Chase Claypool was getting at 15 targets, would have went all in on that, right? But he had a fine game, 9 for 98 or whatever. But man, 15 targets to Chase Claypool, and you only get 98 yards out of that. That was pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, do you remember in training camp, the Steelers beat writers were hyping up Big Ben, oh, he looks great. The Steelers beat writers literally work for the organization. They're state propagandists.
Yeah, just another reminder that beat writer usage reports from preseason are important. Which guy is running with the first team? Beat writer opinions from preseason, I think, are often meaningless. Guys throwing against air and stuff like that are always going to look good. Speaking of a mess, AJ Brown's season, man, I mean, has 2 really bad box score games in weeks 1 and 2, even though the opportunity was there, had some ugly drops. And then in week 3, had to be in your lineup and pulls a hammy early. I mean, just a mess of a season. Wasn't able to return. Not a good sign for him. I was shocked that Julio Jones, even with AJ Brown going down, they still coddled Julio Jones. 18 routes on 33 Ryan Tannehill dropbacks for Julio Jones. I mean, how do you give up? They gave up a first-round pick for him. I don't even remember what they gave up exactly, but they gave up a first-round pick or second-round pick or whatever they gave up for Julio Jones, and now he can only run a route on half of Ryan Tannehill dropbacks. I mean, it's not good, man. What do you think about the AJ Brown injury fallout and anything on Julio?
Yeah, the AJ Brown thing is really disappointing because that dude, when healthy, is just an absolute baller. But he, I don't know. Now he's week to week. I mean, he's probably going to miss a week or 2 at least. Yeah, Julio was sitting in the fourth quarter. Mike Vrabel was asked to address it after the game. He said nothing, of course. So I don't know. I mean, Anthony Ferkser, you remember him?
Yep, the Ferk dad.
The passing offense this is the problem with the Titans, is that they have no depth. I mean, they're running out Nick Westbrook, I don't know what, and then and Chester Rogers, and they're hoping that Marcus Johnson comes back. I mean, their lack of depth is really shining through already, and we're only a couple weeks into the season.
All right. That is going to do it for this AFC team by team podcast. By the way, I forgot to mention at the top, if you have a fantasy basketball draft coming up, we can help. Mike Gallagher, Drew Dinkmeyer, Mike Leone have been working hard to get our NBA draft kit all set up. Head to the site, the NBA tab. You can find all the rankings and analysis there for your season-long fantasy hoops draft. Great game, fantasy hoops. I wish it didn't overlap with NFL because I really do love fantasy hoops so much. All right. 4, Evan. 4, producer Luke. I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.